Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, January 31st, 2022. Starting off this new work week with a little bit of Grand Solar Minimum news update. First, let's start with the space weather situation. We are looking at solar wind speeds right now at 455.5 kilometers per second with a density of 6.4. Now, we are looking at a few active regions on the sun, a few sunspots. 29, 36, 35, 34, and 39. The one that we will be watching the most right now is going to be the Earth directed in the northern part of our star. It is now Earth facing and is turning away. And the important thing to note about that, and I've actually had this alert up now for a couple of days, but I posted a couple days ago about a 10% chance of X-class flares and a 40% chance of M-class flares. That is still being put out there as a warning, or a watch, I should say. Nothing imminent, but with the sunspot as big as AR 2936, I believe that's the one that we're talking about. Yeah, 20. Yep, I'm sorry, 36. With that sunspot being as big as it is, definitely you want to keep your eyes on it as it is Earth facing for the next several days. We'll have maybe another 24 hours of direct impact if there is some sort of a flare. Now, we are still waiting for the M-class flare that this sunspot had already thrown out. It was a M1 and it was a long duration solar flare. Nonetheless, we are under a G2 storm warning for February 2nd. It might even show up a little bit on the late side of February 1st. But nonetheless, with that coronal hole that's turning towards Earth, that'll be something we'll be watching in 3 days after that. So about 5th or the 6th of February, good chance we'll see some geomagnetic storm activity. But a G2 is not that strong. It's a minor geomagnetic storm, so I'm not expecting anything massive from this, seismically or anything like that. But we could say that this could have an impact by pushing highly charged particles into, we're getting the solar cloud. So you could say that this could impact this upcoming storm that we have coming up this week. Very possible. But right now, as it stands, we're just looking at a G2 storm watch on February 2nd. Let's go over to the grandsolarminimum.com. Oh, cosmic rays still at 7.4%. It's up 0.2 over the last 24 hours. So definitely still seeing higher rates at cosmic rays. Usually we're at 5% or below at this point of solar cycles, and we're still, in my opinion, trending high on the cosmic radiation. And folks, bear with me here. If I sound a little different, Mari and I have just battled a bout of COVID ourselves, so bear with me here. This is really like the first day since Saturday of last week that I've actually felt like my normal self again, sort of. All right, now let's go to thegrandsolarminimum.com. Check out some more space weather stats. There you see the solar X-ray flux. It's been a little active, and that is mainly because of AR 2936. Lots of C-class flares. You see the M-class flare there as well, but that's now been over 24 hours. Or not 24, not quite, but almost. And KP indices, it's been unsettled. You could say that. 3 to 4 for the most part. So definitely looking at unsettled space weather here. And let's take a look at what we have on the horizon. I don't know if you guys noticed on the space weather station, but there was a pretty decent size corona around the edge of the sun when you're looking at it through the SDO. And that's because there is a pretty large sunspot that could be in the offing here. All right. I was going to get to that just in a second, but maybe not. Okay, maybe not. So this region up here is not yet on the eastern limb, but it's huge. It's a big one. And we're already looking at this monster right here. So definitely some impressive sunspot activity going on right now. This one, obviously, we're watching for it to pass Earth. We're on a 10% chance for X-class flare and still 40% chance for another M-class. And because of that one N-class flare, we are expecting a G2 storm by February 2nd. All right, like I said, the long duration solar flare, expected impact February 1st or the 2nd. This is from Watchers.news. The region produced numerous C flares, the largest which was C6.7. That was at 12:14 UTC. And it just continued to grow in size from there. And of course, as you know, we got the M-class long duration event. That will give us the G2 storm possibly tomorrow. Before I get into a couple of headlines here, I wanted to show this article off real quick on what's up with that. A very well written piece, a guest blogger. And we've all heard this before. The global warming is going to cause global cooling, right? We've heard this before. But the thing that this article really points out is how much of a hypocrite that these climate change people have become. And what I mean by that is in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, well, especially early 2000s, you had people like Al Gore telling you that snow will be a virtual type of thing, meaning you can only see snow in the 10s and the 2020s if you're just watching a movie or a simulation on a computer. That's what Al Gore had said. But I wonder how they feel right now based on how that prediction is totally blown up out of the water. Well, they're still going to hold on to that. Well, global warming does cause the cooling. This is why we're seeing so much snow. So anyway, let me show you a few things here. And it's lots of good information in this article. She takes a quote from Tony Heller. More climate nonsense from the New York Times. During the 1970s, identical weather patterns were blamed by climate scientists on global cooling and expanding sea ice. We have always had extreme weather and have been constantly wrong about everything. Talking about the people who are talking about AGW here. Brings up Mark Morano's book, Climate Change, The Politically Incorrect Guide. But there was one thing that really jumped out at me the most when going through this on showing how much hypocrites these people are when it comes to global warming. And, well, our predictions didn't come out, so we're going to change the narrative. We're moving the goalposts, so to speak. Again, this thing is packed with articles about, bitter cold plunging goes, that's because of we called that. That was for global warming. Now, this is right here a positive oscillation on the left is associated with a strong and stable polar vortex, whereas a negative AOC, no, just kidding, Arctic oscillation, right, is associated with a weak, unstable vortex. Now, they're telling you that global warming is causing the jet stream to do this, but here's the same exact diagram in this 1975 edition explaining the warm climate and the cool climate. What's the difference? What's the difference? So we have these exact jet stream patterns right now. I'm sure we can all agree about that. And according to what we were being taught in the 70s, this meant a cooler climate. This over here, the strong polar jet stream, this is a warmer climate. But global warmists want to tell you that global warming, this right here, is causing this right here when we know better. So my main thing is we are seeing people bringing back the facts of, oh, there won't be any snow in the 2000s, and kids will have to watch it in movies and films. And now that we're getting dumped on more snow than we probably ever thought we were going to get in the last couple of years, but it's been snowing pretty good. In my opinion, the last couple of years in the Northern Hemisphere has seen quite an increase every year. In fact, we're breaking the average of snowfall for the last 3 years. But now they can say, well, we predicted this. This is what global warming did. It caused climate change. So this is a way for them to basically always be right. They'll never be wrong. And people like the Washington Post are going to support it. But look, these articles that we're getting here, we're showing you this is back from the 70s. January 11th, 1970, cold winters held dawn of a new ice age. Again, what does this mean? We were talking about global cooling back in the 70s, and they were wrong, right? They were wrong because we started warming in the 80s, right? Not because of industrial stuff, but just because that's part of the cycles. So I'm not saying that you're not allowed to make predictions or claims. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we've been through this before, and to say 97% consensus are saying that man causes global warming, and then you see these old articles from back in the 70s, scientists teaching how it's cold for, the jet stream to look like this, and it's warm for it to look like this. Well, this was taught to us. We know that. Cool climate, warm climate. Warmer, cooler, I should say. We were taught this. This is stuff that's not new. The amount of ice growth, some think that it's actually more than what we're seeing. Oh, by the way, speaking of ice growth, the North Pole is now officially full, totally full of ice. So there you go. What happened? What was that about? An all blue event that the polar ice caps were going to melt, and something about sea rise and all that other shit? Yeah, well, that's not happening. Again, it's so strange to me that when you talk to people about natural climate cycles, and that it just happens. It happens because the sun says it's going to happen. How dismissive people are about that kind of science. Oh, no, it's the pollution. It's CO2. The CO2 causes the warming. It's not natural. This is not natural. Yes, it is natural. You could share, I shared the other night on cloud coverage, how it doesn't absorb infrared and all this other stuff, and improving how CO2 is not trapped heat. It's not causing temperatures to go up. No. Again, I just thought this would be a good article to mention tonight. We haven't talked much about climate talk in a little while, and this was a guest blogger on What's Up With That. Blizzard, this is global warming. Actually, here we go again. Climate change can be linked to this nor'easter, and they are. I heard one of the dumbest things, and unfortunately, I'm a fan of this guy in the football world, Nate Burleson, but he actually took it as far last week when we were dealing with, or a couple weeks ago, we were dealing with the eruption of Tonga. He actually said, on Twitter or somewhere on some social media platform that climate change had something to do with the volcano eruption. And I went, well, you got that backwards, buddy. It's the volcano that has something to do with the climate change. Okay, close, but you got to rearrange it there. But it's so sad to see all of these famous people, these well-loved sports athletes, musicians, and just movie stars jump in there and they want to tell you, oh, global warming is real, and oh my God, climate change this and climate change that, and you've got to stop drinking bottled waters, and it's sick. And it's exactly what AGW is wanting to do, is they have to be able to brainwash you, and they have to do it with people who are convincing. So you hire actors. Bill Nye is an actor. Al Gore might as well be a comedian. All right, and I'm being super serial about that. You know, Leo DiCaprio, there's stupid fans. Oh, I love Leo. He just said that global warming's real. Oh, we're such bad humans. There's people that are like that. And then the masses follow. It's just sad that we've got to be manipulated and brainwashed anyway by mainstream. And then if you discuss natural climate change like we do here at Grand Solar Minimum, you get demonetized, you get blacklisted, you get taken off of search engines. Again, how can YouTube or Google deny the scientific evidence that we present on this channel as not having an impact on climate? You want to talk about climate deniers? I think they need to look in the mirror. To sit here and say that what we talk about here is just crazy stuff, when we've got articles that'll put it right in your face that this has been talked about in the 70s, except it wasn't warming, it was cooling, because we were in a pattern. We were in a cooling period. We started to warm again, and now that warming period has ended, and we're starting to cool off again. And yes, I said starting to cool off. 2016 is when I think is when the modern warming era ended. And in 2016, we started seeing a decline in temperatures and seeing more snow and more ice. And we are. Each year, the ice growth continues to get stronger and bigger. Well, I just saw a comment by Les, and I'm not going to reveal it because, you know, sometimes YouTube likes to get, well, okay, somebody did. But yeah, you're right. Scientists were political slaves and whores. You know, again, people will do anything for money, right? For clout, right? So, you know how much money's already sunk into the AGW theory, man-made, climate change, Green New Deal. We already know there's billions, if not trillions, already invested. Do you really think the elite are going to stop and say, oops, we got that one wrong? Yeah, in fact, the sun does drive the climate. Who knew? So all that money, all those taxes that you paid. No, they're not going to admit this is a waste. So why do we do this? Well, we're doing this to make people aware so we don't fall for these Green New Deal energy policies and vote these politicians in who support stuff like this. We need to make sure we're paying attention to these people who are in charge up there so they can stop voting in stupid legislation that will cause more pain for us and no solutions for the climate. So here's the news flash. Listen up. The news flash is climate change cannot be stopped. It is natural. It is controlled by the sun. Mother Nature does not care whether or not if it's convenient for you or me. So that's why when you come to channels like this is a channel where we understand we have to adapt. This is not the sky is falling. This is, oh shit, we're about to see some real stuff here with the weather, with the droughts, with snows, with the crop loss, the famine, the disease. Whether or not you believe in the COVID stuff or not, I'll tell you something right now. I just got over it, and definitely not fake, not fun either. I know Mari can attest to that. It's been a stressful week, lots of anxieties. So, my point I'm trying to make, folks, is that if you're looking for the truth and you're having a hard time because there's just so many people out there who go one way and one way only, and if you try to discuss this kind of stuff here, the natural side of it, you get scoffed at, you get told you're pseudoscience. It's crazy. But yet, back in the 60s and 70s, this was the new, and no one blinked an eye. No one said, oh, no, that's not going to happen. Nobody stood up and said, no, global warming is going to take over. Everybody went with that too. Everybody went with, oh, it's global cooling. So I think it is we have to really do a better job of vetting our information, being more educated about science itself, understanding that there is no consensus in science, and that does man contribute to climate change? Well, I'll tell you something. They say that man does at the smallest rate ever. 0.004% is what the CO2 impact is from man's emissions. Believe it or not. I mean, it's the same old, folks. And we're here to expose it. Not looking for notoriety. We just want to help people. If we don't get this right and help people get prepared for this, I think it'll be a bad thing, in my opinion. We've been covering this for 5 years. We need to make sure that we're giving out sensible information. We're not going to be here sensationalizing things. Mari is one of the better people I know at vetting anything. And I mean that. She, there's a couple of things I'll talk about later, but there was something on social media that I wasn't aware of, and Mari dug into it for me, and kind of felt like a cult. So it's called controlled opposition, and we'll get into a discussion about that one night. Maybe Mari and I can have a Saturday night sit down and like a back and forth and talk about some of these issues when it comes to controlled opposition. By the way, we're back, folks. Tonight is the beginning of our new schedule, Monday through Friday, daily shows from the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Mari's also going to be working on editing videos, so you'll start to see stuff like we had back in the day before all this COVID, before the work that we've done on the house, which is finally completed. And Mari and I are ready to get into this because, folks, there's so much to go over. And there's so many points that we want to bring up, too, and make sure that it's clear that we're not here to insult, but we want the truth, and we're going to correct it. That's it. Yeah, I'm going to wear you out, that's for sure. All right, guys, let's move it on in here to a couple of headlines. Rare snow engulfs Jerusalem. That was on January 27th. I thought, well, I can't do a show without talking about this. Same storm that paralyzed Greece and Turkey, which, by the way, I have seen some amazing pictures from these storms over here. But this snowfall came from that storm, and it fell on the city of Jerusalem, Israel, on January 27th. 6 to 10 inches of snow fell overnight, folks. This is very rare. Again, we were told by Al Gore and folks that you're only going to be able to see snow in the movies. That our children and grandchildren won't know what snow is. Does that look like rain to you in Jerusalem? These people are probably knew this was a once-a-lifetime thing for them. That much snow? Again, we're seeing it everywhere. Deserts, Middle Eastern countries, European countries, and the obvious areas as well. Siberia, Russia, all of them getting the snow they should be getting, and then some. No shortage here, guys. recapping the big storm that we just had, at least 4 people killed from this storm. Now, we've got another one to talk about too, but let's get through this one. Over 120,000 customers were left without power, and most of those people were in Massachusetts. So here's some of the bigger snow totals from this storm. Now, Massachusetts, Stoughton, 30.9 inches of snow. New York, Islip, or is that Islip? Mari probably knows. I don't. I'm not really from New York. I've only got 4 years under my belt. Mari is the more veteran here, so I'm probably really mispronouncing this. Islip. But it had 24.7 inches of snow. Warren, Rhode Island, 24.6. Norwich, Connecticut, 22 inches. Vesey, Maine also had 22 inches. Bayville, 21 inches. Ocean Pines, Maryland, 14. Rye, New Hampshire, 13.5. Wallops Island got walloped with 9.5 inches. That's in Virginia. All of the dark red is 24 to 30 inches. The light red is the 18 to 24 inch mark. So looking up and down the coast here, folks, we definitely saw quite a bit of snow that was easily over 2 foot. Easily. Up and down the coast here. Oh, this thing's funny. This thing's hilarious. And then, of course, the blue dots represents the lighter amounts, 1 to 3, 6 to 3, stuff like that. So the Northeast got pounded on the coast, and usually going up and down I-95, it's always rain. They always get the rain. They don't ever get the snow. They don't ever get the white stuff. Well, they got plenty of that. And now we get to prepare for the next storm. And I have some questions about the forecast, first and foremost. And I'll show you the GFS. First, this is what AccuWeather thinks. The icing situation, to me, is the most serious out of all of it. No doubt about it. We're talking about folks here in St. Louis, southern Indiana, across Cincinnati, Ohio as well, parts of northern Kentucky, western Kentucky, and then when you get into Ohio, Cincinnati, Dayton, Bellefontaine, Ohio, northern parts of Columbus, on into northeastern Ohio, not quite Cleveland. Erie, we got to watch you guys as well. Not just the ice, but the snow. And even Albany. And we're up a little bit above that, so we do have an ice threat. So we're not just talking about snow here. We got about a 1/4 inch of ice in most places in those really dark purple shades, okay? That is the power outage risk. So if you know anybody that lives in the Dallas metro area all the way through Columbus, Ohio, make them aware. Even folks here in New York, southern New York, Albany area, and sort of close to where we are, but not really. But the threat is there. The ground is saturated too. We've had lots of rain. We have lots of moisture. So the concern could be high winds, tree branches falling, ice, heavy ice, causing power outages too, snapping these lines. I'm saying this, folks, because I think we need to be prepared for this one. And one of the people that I follow on weather is Roy Spencer. And he pretty much nailed it out of the park with this nor'easter. And I like where he's going with this particular forecast that he's been trying to promote here recently. And it's a little bit different, I think, from this, but not much. It's pretty close, actually. But his confidence in this storm is just about as high as the nor'easter, and we've seen what happened from that. So this one is definitely worth watching. First of all, this is what they're thinking out west from Albuquerque, the heaviest snow. Denver finally getting some real wintertime snow. Kansas City, maybe this will cheer you up from your loss against the Bungles last night. Sorry about that, guys. All right, and this storm, snow totals. Now, here's where I kind of disagree a little bit. The storm totals right now, I feel like, are a bit too far north. I feel like this line could shift a little bit more, just looking at the GFS outlook, all right? So the areas right down here in southwest Ohio, you're going to have a lot of ice. if this stays true. All right. The reason why you have light snow totals is because you're going to have heavy ice. We're talking possibly up to an inch of ice near Cincinnati, Ohio, folks, along the Ohio River. So we're going to have to really watch this situation as the storm is still a couple days out. Tuesday night into Wednesday is when this all really gets ramped up. And the biggest thing about this storm, I'll say, is that the reason why it's going to be so intense with this snow line right here is that this low pressure system here is moving to the east. And it stalls out right around in here. And when it stalls out, there's going to be tons of moisture moving in from the Gulf to connect with this system. So that's why I think we're going to see so much icing in the southern part of this storm because of that Gulf moisture bringing the warmer temperatures. And yes, there's lots of cold air in place right now. But I really feel like that if we're looking at this area with the lighter snow totals in the south part of the storm, combined with that warm Gulf moisture and the cold temperatures, I think there's a better chance of accumulating ice up and down the areas that we just discussed. In the light blue area, this is probably where we'll see the most ice from Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, into Missouri. And then, of course, in Pennsylvania, maybe some icing in southern New York, maybe. I say southern New York because I live, north. I know New York City is more southern, but let's just say mid-New York. But either way, this storm is definitely something we need to pay attention to. I'll go ahead and put it in motion for you on the GFS. It's the best way to do it, right? To show you guys what I was talking about with this front stalling out and how it's going to be a continuous storm. So the GFS now actually has it lined up a little bit further north, and that ice snow line, you see it really defined there, just like in the areas I was telling you about near Cincinnati, Ohio, all along from Dallas through Cincy, Columbus. Mainly rain in Pennsylvania. So the southern side of this storm, this is good news for you folks out here because you just saw a bunch of snow. You don't need any more. But the continuous snow band is getting the moisture. You can see it here on Tropical Tidbits, the moisture coming in from the Gulf, being sucked into this low pressure system. But this is one system, and this is actually number two. So it looks like one continuous, but there's actually two systems involved with this storm. And here we are. This is Thursday. This all starts, I think, Wednesday. Let's go back to the very beginning. It's actually starting up tomorrow. It'll start forming in the Gulf, combined with that cold front that's not rushing in, but coming in from the north. And then here we go, Wednesday, early morning hours. We start to see snow falling in Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, northern Indiana, and Michigan. Scott Rose, look out, buddy. All right. And as the day progresses on Wednesday into the evening, things really pick up with the ice and the snow. And then we get to Thursday, and more moisture from the Gulf enters in through Dallas, and it really strengthens up this storm. I mean, look at how intense this got down here. This is the second part of this system right down here. First part's already starting to move through. This is the second part, and this is where I'm worried about the ice accumulation. So let's watch it here. And this is on Thursday afternoon, heading into the overnight hours, finally moving off to the east. It looks like by early Friday morning, the Ohio River might see just all snow by the end of this. But then that ice threat moves east in southeast Ohio, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Watch out before it finally moves out into the Atlantic. But snow, if you live in the Northeast, like Mari and I do, I mean, snow doesn't stop falling until Saturday up here. Now, GFS is just giving an idea, that's all. But look at the duration of this storm all the way to Saturday. So starting here, and by the way, right here is when we are expecting the CME. How ironic that this thing explodes right after a solar storm, right? On Thursday, February 3rd. It's possible. So, this is a pretty strong system. I think it could bring significantly a foot. Basically, everyone that we're seeing right here in this diagram, I believe that we are probably going to see anywhere from 8 to 14 inches of snow. I know that's a wide window, but something's changed here where later in the day on Friday, that snow gets a little bit heavier through parts of Pennsylvania and New York and Vermont and New Hampshire and into parts of Maine. And then finally, after that rain finally starts falling in Massachusetts and Connecticut, they're going to get some heavy snow and ice on Friday into Saturday. This thing wraps up finally for them, believe it or not, Saturday, early Sunday. So lots of winter weather just to deal with here in the next 72 hours. Nothing is certain at this moment, but that's a pretty long storm. And anyone that's in the pink or the blue of this storm right here, you need to prepare for possibility of road closures and power outages, especially along the pink and the purple, of course, with the icing. And again, this is all because of the moisture that's coming in from the Gulf that's supplying this storm here. So let's move to next week, because guess what? Oh yeah, February is lit. Here we are next week on Monday, a quick little system to hit the northeast. I don't expect but a couple inches from that. And then on Tuesday, February 8th, another cold front pushes its way in across the United States, bringing like an Alberta clipper to the northeast. Light snow again, 1 to 3 inches possible. But then we've got another system coming in out of the Gulf on February 12th. And this one is going to link up with, again, another cold front from the north. And these two combined, we got to watch this one, as we could see potentially another dangerous nor'easter and another snow situation like we just had here in the same areas along I-95 once again. And then by Valentine's Day, that snow will continue to fall. High pressure settling in, more cold, more snow. That's right, folks. One right after the other, it looks like, for the most part. And where these bends are right here, you see how close these lines are. Well, we got to watch for blizzard conditions and stuff like this, where you got heavy snow and the lines are close together. We got to watch out for blizzard-like conditions. What are the temperatures like? It's going to be cold. Yeah, there's going to be a couple ridge and fridges, or tease and freeze. That's what Mari calls them. There's going to be a couple of those. A lot of the Arctic air stays in Canada, but there's a shot of cold blast right there, February 5th. So here's what's going to be dangerous about this upcoming storm. When we get done with the snow and the ice and the power's out, because there will be power outages, and this is where we need to be prepared, folks. These are pretty sub temperatures, single digits, 0 degrees. That's pretty cold, especially if the power's not on and you don't have heat. So definitely, I'll try to come up with some ideas for alternative heating. I have a homestead book here that I just need to really open up and just go through, and the terracotta candle thing is kind of a great thing for heat, for temporary solution in a small room, but it can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, if you've never done it before. So I advise people to just test that stuff before you work it. But that's going to be the problem after this storm, is the cold that's going to settle in. And I believe, in my opinion, it's not so much because of how cold that air is coming in from Canada, but I think the snowpack also drops the temperature as well. So the only thing that's man-made right here is this, this is snow-made right here. This cooling right here is made because of all the snow that we're going to have over the next few days in the storm. Like I said, a few teas and freezes here and there, some 50s and 40s along the East Coast, even up in New York. And then nice warm-up here on Monday, February 7th. But again, more Arctic air trying to make its way into the Northeast, successfully across the northern plain states and across the Great Lakes. Again, every area that I really talked about getting the cold and the snow, it's happened. And it's not because I'm smart. It's because I'm, based on the La Nina pattern and so far how the jet stream has been. And it's been spot on. It has not been the crazy cold winter in the south like some thought we might have seen. But in the north, in Ohio, even as far south as Georgia, we're going to see a lot of snow in the upcoming days, and I'll show you that too. Also, tons of Arctic air getting ready to invade the United States here. Look at that. Yeah. And that is when there's another storm right here too. So just like this storm that we're dealing with, this is almost identical on the cold front, but the difference is that this cold air is rushing in, and the cold air that we have coming in now for this next storm is stalling out up here in the northern Great Lakes and in Canada, and that's allowing this long duration snow event to take place. So here's what they could see from this snowstorm. This is on Thursday. You see the higher amounts there across the Midwest. And then as we get through Thursday into Friday, the snow starts to spread into New York, Pennsylvania, and back into the Connecticut, Massachusetts area. And by the time it's all said and done on Friday, look at that, or I'm sorry, Saturday, a lot of green there, folks. A lot of green. That's 1.5 feet or more for most of us in that green area, possibly 2 feet. And if you live in Cincinnati, now, believe it or not, I don't know if this is just the, it does include sleet. So these totals are included with the sleet that they're expecting to get. So that dark green stuff that you see right here in Cincinnati, you're not going to get 23 inches of snow. You're going to get probably right around it's possible foot of snow, I guess. And then a lot of sleet and ice, too, under this. So we'll just have to continue to watch this. But this is what they're expecting after this storm. The rest of February, again, this is way too far out to give any kind of notice. But the Monday storm on February 7th, take notice, more snow across the same areas that we just got snow. So I think it's safe to say we can rely on this forecast for the next 5 to 6 days. Now, February 10th, moving on forward, I'm going to bring us to the 16th of February. So if GFS is right, and I told Mari this earlier, I feel like I've seen the GFS do a really good job at signaling if we're going to get a lot of snow, if we're not going to get a lot of snow in the upcoming future. And so far, GFS has been pretty close. We knew it was going to come, right? We had that slow start to the winter. It got a little cold in November, not real cold. And December was iffy in some spots. January definitely said, hello, I'm here. And now February, old man winter's not playing. The only hope is that it's so bad in February means it's not going to be as bad in March, and maybe we'll get a normal plant season. I don't know. We're supposed to be heading into a maximum, but if it's a week maximum, it's not really going to make that big of a difference when it comes to season starting on time, especially when we have volcanic eruptions like the ones we had in Tonga. If those continue to happen, and I don't see any reason why they won't. All right, I want to say hello to everybody who's out in the chat. Of course, J-Dog, good to see you. Knife Collector, Pizza Hut, Jesse Vorwald, our good friend up there in Wisconsin. How's it going? Les Moore, Lisa B, good to have you out here. TJ Smith, good to see you, sir. Very enthusiastic Gardner, hello. Thank you for joining. Matt Bros, I saw you in here earlier too. Freedom to Ken, absolutely. Mohammed, our longtime follower. Great to have you in the chat tonight, sir. Thank you very much for being here. And, of course, my lovely wife, Mari, who always comes through for me in this channel. Jerome from Rochester, also out here in the chat. Alfred, good to see you here, sir. And lots of other new faces. Man, this is great to see you guys tonight. Glad you could make it and get this Grand Solar Minimum News update. Just to give you another update, tune in tomorrow. Oh, yeah, Patricia. I did see Patricia as well. Patricia Clayton, hello to you, and happy belated birthday. Her birthday was just a couple of days ago, but we weren't on the air to talk about that stuff, so I wanted to tell Patricia, thank you, Mari. I wanted to tell Patricia a happy birthday on the air, so hopefully she heard that as well. William says he's listening from England. It's past your bedtime, sir, but thank you for tuning in as well. And Grand Solar Minimum for Reals, I see you changed your name, so good to see you as well, sir. Yeah, I tell you, I see Pete's comment about firewood. I feel like this year using our fireplace the way we intended to use it definitely makes a difference with heating our home and keeping it nice and cozy. And with temperatures and snow, we're definitely going to need a little more wood. Mari and I have already been through a face cord and then a full cord right at Christmas, so looking to score some more wood, so hopefully that happens as well. Yes, Lisa B, hopefully we don't see any shutoffs from natural gas. And Mari, thanks again. Shirley, also recovering from COVID. As you already know, Mari and I both had COVID for over a week. We're still suffering from it. So thanks for the prayers. Thanks for all the well wishes. Some of you are friends with us on Facebook, so you already knew that. So we appreciate your support. Guys, speaking of support, If you want to support the Grand Solar Minimum channel, head over to our Patreon channel, become a member just for $1. That's all we're asking, folks. We want to get everybody converted over to Patreon. YouTube and Google has basically demonetized, censored our channel when it comes to talking about natural climate science and the truth about the climate. I guess we're just dangerous content. I don't know. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Be sure to check us out tomorrow night, 7:30, for another Grand Solar Minimum News update and our latest on the snowstorm that's going to be affecting about 2,000 miles worth of people here. So 100 million or so, easily. All right, guys, be safe out there. We'll talk soon.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.